We have a transformative week full of planetary transit. There's a lot of fascinating things going on these next 7 days. We'll have a new moon in Gemini at the end of the week, allowing us to see where we need to adopt a more versatile way of being. Saturn is going retrograde at the end of this week, giving us the opportunity to see where we need to resolve the unconstructive areas of our lives. Also at the end of the week, Venus is going into its pre-shadow retrograde, which will allow us to see what our retrograde theme will be for the upcoming regressive cycle on July 22nd. And we have a very Mercury forward week. Mercury is going to be making a majority of the alignments throughout the next 7 days, giving us the opportunity to work on our thought processes, how we communicate with ourselves, and the way we communicate with others. And the vibes on the graph are very reflective of the variety of energies that we're experiencing throughout these next 7 days. At the beginning of the week, social vibes, family and friends, and a smidget of psychic energy will be present. And for this reason, the first couple of days of this week could be active in terms of communication, with moments where we're having mild sensory perception. Mental energy will appear from the 13th to the 16th, intersecting solitude and good luck energy. One of the bonuses for this week, even though it's a harder week in terms of the transits, there's a ton of good luck energy that will be present throughout this week, which will allow us to take action on opportunities that could be fortunate for us. But because of some of the energies throughout this week, when we get to that middle portion of the week, we may have moments where we're needing our space from people. There could be moments where we're needing to sort out complex thoughts because of some of the mercurial stuff going on. Mercury is going to connect with Chiron and Saturn in complex transits this week. So this could create moments where we're really needing space to be with our thoughts and to sort out the way we're feeling. Then from the 16th onward, we have good luck energy, overlapping ambitious energy, and also intersecting psychic vibes. So this is the good news about this weekend. Even though we still have some harder energies, we have that ambitious energy pushing us through. A lot of the times when we have those complex transits, it causes us to take action. And some of the great things about this is our intuition will be on fire. Our intuition will help guide us towards the right opportunities for ourselves. And with that good luck energy appearing, some of that could lead to making the right choices that end up panning out in our favor. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting week for sure. Let's look at the next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. The 13th is a day filled with Venus transits, so some of our focus will go on relationship situations and financial matters. Venus is going to make a quincunx with Saturn, allowing us to see where a relationship lacks vulnerability. And because this is a quincunx, this could be an area that we might have been ignoring. It could have been an area that we're not understanding in terms of our relationships, in terms of our financial situations, in terms of a sense of self-worth, or anything to do with what we value when it comes down to these themes. Some of this could cause us to reevaluate where a relationship is lacking passion, or show us where we're committing ourselves to a relationship for the wrong reasons, and seeing why we shouldn't invest ourselves in a romantic situation that doesn't offer long-lasting security. So this is truly a time to look at situations that bring no value to us when it comes down to our romantic lives. This could also translate into our financial situations. This could also translate into our professional life. So we could be evaluating the situations to see if we're making the right choices to help build up our finances, or if we're in a situation where we're underappreciated at the job and we're not getting paid what we're worth. And as I always say, when we see these complex transits, it doesn't mean that you're going to do something on this day, although depending on the circumstances and how you're being aspected, yes, it can happen on that specific day. But this is one of those things where you get that nudge needed to start the process of moving forward, because you're at a point where you're realizing going on like this isn't worth your time any longer. On that same day, the sun is going to make a semi-square with Venus. Venus is at its furthest point from the sun and will go into its pre-shadow on the 18th. But before it does, we're getting this exact connection. An alignment like this has its fun side, but it also has some of its sides that can be irritating and stressful in some sort of way. It's a mixed bag transit, so there are moments where we feel encouraged, there are moments where we feel motivated, there are moments where we feel upbeat and just want to socialize and participate in fun activities. And if channeled properly, an alignment like this could help us boost our sense of self. So it has a lot of great qualities to it. This is where we were seeing some of that socializing coming up on the graph as well. But at the same time, an alignment like this can be problematic because it enunciates the need to gain validation. Nothing wrong with wanting a little validation. Everyone wants a little validation every once in a while. At the same time, this can come off in a grandiose sort of way where we're feeling more entitled than normal when it comes down to gaining attention or commanding that we get attention from people and get the praise that we're looking for. So this is where it can be dicey in this energy. And with that Saturn transit that's going on to Venus making that quincunx to Saturn, we could have moments where our self-esteem is fluctuating on that day. So we're looking for that external validation and that boost. And if we're not getting it, we may react in a way that's inappropriate and unconstructive. The 14th through the 17th is chock full of Mercury transits. On the 14th, Mercury is going to make a square with Chiron, causing us to work on our internal dialogue. Mercury and Chiron in a square could inflate moments where we're in our heads, we're overthinking things, we're overanalyzing things, we're finding ourselves catastrophizing things. So ruminating on things from the past that are behind us. So it could feel like a heavy day for thoughts and being harder on ourselves than we absolutely should. So we'll need to make ourselves aware that we're doing this and try to ground our thoughts and find healthy coping mechanisms to work through these. So our minds aren't constantly flooded with overthinking. So use this as a day to work on self-criticism and find a plan of action that helps you. That way you can curb perfectionism when it creeps in and toxic inner dialogue. And that's going to be necessary because on the next day, we have more complicated Mercury transits. Mercury is going to be in a semisextile to Jupiter, but Mercury is also going to square Saturn. Now, of course, Mercury is connecting to two planets that are not like the other, so we can feel mixed baggy on that day. With the Jupiter stuff, we might have moments where we're having to work on arrogance. We're having moments where we're having to work on speaking in a cocky manner to other people. It could produce moments of entitled thinking, but also one of the issues with this is it has a tendency to stretch things. And so it could stretch the truth. So there could be situations where we're dealing with people who are fibbing and they're not necessarily keeping things honest as they should be. Also, it could be situations where we're blowing things out of proportion as a result of this. So we can end up taking something small and making a big deal out of it when it's not necessary. And so that's something that we definitely need to be aware of in this energy. But with Mercury making that square to Saturn, we can end up doing the opposite where we end up minimizing situations. So depending on which energies you're feeling, if you're feeling the Saturn stuff, this could be a day of shutting down. This could be a day of minimizing your own pain. This could be a day of minimizing the feelings and emotions of other people. So we'll need to be aware of coming off in that manner. Also, because we feel shut down, we may not be as responsive communication-wise to others. So it could be a day of one-word text messages. And sometimes with that, and especially with the Jupiter stuff, Mercury and Jupiter connecting, if you're getting a one-word text message from someone on that day, you might blow things out of proportion and think that person's mad at you when really they may not have the mental bandwidth to deal with other people. Because sometimes that happens when we have a mix of alignments that day. Also with Mercury, Saturn squares, you get that sort of energy where it's not so much about you, but more so about what the person's going through and they just don't have the energy to be responsive. And like the Chiron stuff, this could also cause us to catastrophize a bit and think about the past and think about past embarrassment or past failures and scenarios and things like that. So when these energies are going on, do the best you can to pump yourself up. Like I said, go online and research strategies to motivate yourself to work on harsh inner dialogue and other ways to work on stuck thinking patterns. Luckily on the 17th, Mercury is going to make a connection with Venus that can help us come back to a place where we have pleasant thoughts and conversations. And because this alignment is uplifting, we'll have the bandwidth to deal with others. So this could be a day where we're interested in socializing. We could be in a feel-good mood and just want to share the positive vibes with other people. So if there was something going on a couple of days ago where someone wasn't as receptive to you, this could be a day where they come out their shell or whatever was going on with them and be ultra chatty. But this could be a day that's just busy when it comes down to communication, on text, on social media, through phone calls, or overall making plans to connect with someone and just hang out and do something fun. On a romantic level, this is great for being flirty and charming and having amorous conversations with someone you're interested in or someone you're already committed to. Mentally, we can feel stimulated and inspired to create something. So this could be a day of creativity if you are having mental blocks. This could be a day where you're feeling more inspired to make something beautiful. So it brings about this day of brilliant concepts, a form of art you're trying to put out into the world. Money-wise, this is great for thinking of ways to increase your income, coming up with really good ideas in terms of working through your finances, and even being able to do something where you're sweet talking higher ups in a way that makes you look favorable to them, which could result in some sort of promotion down the line. If you're self-employed, this may be a day where you're making good agreements with someone on a contractual level. Speaking of contracts, this is also excellent for signing contracts and things going favorably for both parties. On that same day, Saturn is going retrograde. Welcome to the first Saturn retrograde in Pisces. This hasn't happened in 29.5 years. We've gotten used to those Saturn retrogrades in Aquarius, and so this one will bring in a different tone. It'll bring in more of a Piscean tone, while still dealing with all of the themes that comes with a Saturn retrograde. And Saturn happens to be the second outer planet to go into its regressive cycle. Soon we'll have Neptune retrograde at the end of the month, then Chiron, then Uranus, then Jupiter. And interestingly, Jupiter will be in a conjunction with Uranus as it's going retrograde, but I will talk about that once we get to August. So back to Saturn retrograde. Saturn went into its pre-shadow on March 11th. So think about what kind of Saturn themes were going on in your life. What were you trying to restructure in your life? Where were you trying to gain more solidness? What kind of hopes and wishes were you trying to make more concrete? Where were you trying to build faith back up in yourself? Where were you learning how to set limits with yourself or work on issues with indulgence, haziness, and escapism? Has this been a period where you've been working on becoming more disciplined with your habits or learning the importance of accountability? Has this been a period of cleaning up your act and getting more organized in your life? Has this been a period of working on your reputation and ensuring that it's trustworthy but also solid and that you're standing above the rest when it comes down to your professional portfolio or resume? Or has this been a time where you've wanted to become more polished when it comes down to your public face, your public appearance, and anything to do with outward material things, which some of this can translate into cleaning up your social media and leveling up the reputation when it comes down to that sort of thing? Has this been a period where you've tried to gain mastery over your life? In other words, some of this can do with your finances, but some of this could do with other circumstances in your life. Any area of your life where you're looking to build up authority points, this could have been a period where you start working on that. And whether that's going into a training program, whether that's starting the process of actually initiating goals that have been on the back burner that maybe you were prepared but something held you back from stepping forward. This could have been a period where you're starting to work on that because you're ready to climb the ladder in so many ways. Position yourself as an authority in whatever area of life you're wanting to step forward in. Saturn retrogrades are about getting serious about our lives. It's about building up momentum in our lives. It's about building up any type of material security in our lives, getting rid of unnecessary distractions that hinder us from success, and seeing our lives from a more realistic lens so that way we're improving our circumstances overall. During these retrogrades, we slowly become aware of the things that we've ignored that require our attention and need us to become more polished. We re-examine our commitments to things, and so this could be re-examining our commitments to a relationship. This could be re-examining our commitments to a job or anything else in our lives that is coming up for a review where we need to know if it stays or if it's something that is no longer working for us, if it's something that's not bringing us a return on investment. It's also a time to reassess responsibilities and ensure that we're not biting off more than we can chew. So through this retrograde, we'll look at the unrealistic things that stunt our growth, set proper boundaries with others and ourselves, and invest in the things that'll ensure greater success for us. The signs that will experience this retrograde more than others will be the mutable placements: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, between 0 to 10 degrees of these zodiac placements. So if you have planets or chart points in these signs, you'll be more affected than other zodiac placements. Saturn will go direct on November 3rd of this year, and then finally exit its post-shadow on February 7th of 2024. On the 18th, Venus enters its pre-shadow retrograde phase. So from now until October 7th, we will be in the Venus retrograde cycle. Venus will go retrograde on the 22nd of July, go direct on the 3rd of September, and then leave its post-shadow on the 7th of October. And because Venus is the planet that governs our love life, self-esteem, values, self-worth, social happenings, the way we adorn ourselves, fairness, sensory things, reciprocity, and what we attract to ourselves, and of course our finances, those themes will come up as they do in any traditional Venus retrograde. Because it's in the sign of Leo, we are going to have Leo themes that pop up during this regressive cycle. So things like living a more bold existence, stepping forward and showing off our talents, participating in more leisurely activities in our lives, casual dating, creativity, inner child work, or anything to do with children could possibly come up since Leo governs that. But we can also be working on our ego during this time. We could be working on snobby behavior. We could be working on the need for constant validation, self-aggrandizement in relationships, overspending, and being overly theatrical in our love lives and even career situations. So a lot of these themes will pop up during the retrograde. Right now, since we're in the pre-shadow, we're going to get our topic if we are being aspected by this. So this is your time to pay attention to whatever's going on around you involving and concerning Venus and Leo themes, because that's going to show you exactly what direction this retrograde is going to go for you. Because as we get to the retrograde period, all this pre-shadow stuff plays out during the regressive cycle itself. The ones who are going to be most affected by this retrograde are going to be the fixed modality: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, between 10 to 29 degrees of these signs. So anyone who's in the middle to end of these signs itself will feel this retrograde more than others. If it's your sun sign, if you happen to be a sun, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, or if you have other planets and chart points within this sign, you're going to feel this retrograde the most between 10 to 29 degrees of these placements. And of course, as this retrograde goes on, I will talk more about it in length so that way you guys have more of the details of how this retrograde can play out itself. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.